The moment Marlene Hayward stepped through the polished glass doors of Bishop and Crane Luxury Realty, something in the room shifted, though not for the reasons anyone assumed. She carried herself with the quiet confidence of a woman who had long since learned never to explain her worth to people who couldn't to see it. But confidence, as she knew well, didn't always protect you from prejudice. And in this office, prejudice greeted her before a single word was spoken. This is where it all began, with a single dismissive glance that would soon unravel an entire career. Before we continue, let me talk to you directly. If you're here with me right now, tell me where you're watching from. What city, what country, what place in the world do you call home? Share it in the comments, and while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap that like button. It helps stories like this reach more people who need to hear them. Now, let's go back to the moment everything shifted for Marlene. She arrived for a simple purpose: a scheduled viewing of a newly listed property tucked behind manicured hedges and overlooking the quiet hills of Evergreen Heights. But instead of a greeting, she received a smirk from the woman behind the marble reception desk. Carolyn Bishop, the senior manager of the agency, glanced up only long enough to make an assessment rooted not in information, but in assumption. Her eyes moved from Marlene's athletic jacket to her simple tote bag, down to her running shoes, then back to her face with an expression that said she believed she already knew everything necessary. Without asking a single question, Carolyn tilted her head toward a narrow hallway and said, in a crisp, patronizing tone, "Assistance programs are downstairs. Second door to the right. Someone will help you explore affordable housing options." Marlene paused, unsure if she had misheard. She had no need for financing assistance or affordable housing programs. She was here to buy a home outright, a property valued at nearly $4 million. Her appointment was confirmed twice, once by phone and once through email. And yet, without knowing her name, without checking her identity, without the courtesy offered to every other person in the room, Carolyn dismissed her as someone unworthy of the agency's attention. The other clients continued browsing brochures or sipping complimentary espresso, but a few had already started watching the interaction with discomfort. Marlene chose calm over confrontation. She asked, with soft patience, "I'm here for a showing. Could you check the schedule under my name?" Carolyn chuckled in a way that made the room colder. "I don't need to check anything," she said. "We usually don't schedule private luxury showings for, well, people who aren't qualified clients. And frankly, you don't look like someone buying a home in Evergreen Heights." The words spread across the lobby like a stain. One of the waiting clients raised an eyebrow. Another whispered, "Did she really just say that?" But Caroline wasn't done. Feeling the attention, she doubled down. "Please don't create any unnecessary scenes. If you're here to apply for work, housekeeping positions are handled through a separate portal. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you to clear the area so we can serve actual clients." The ease with which she dismissed a woman she knew nothing about was so routine, so unexamined, that she didn't recognize the severity of what she was doing, not yet. Marlene felt the familiar sting of assumptions sharpen around her, the same blade she'd felt many times before, but she refused to be carved by it. She inhaled once slowly and repeated, "Please check my name. Hayward. Marlene Hayward." Again, Caroline refused. She turned to her assistant and said loudly, "Add this to the log. Attempted impersonation of a client." The assistant hesitated, visibly uncomfortable, glancing between Caroline and Marlene as though trying to calculate the safest choice. But Caroline snapped, "Do it," and the young woman, pressured, typed reluctantly into her tablet. The tension tightened across the room. Every second, more eyes turned toward the unfolding scene. Some held disbelief, others held anger, but none held enough courage to intervene. And then Caroline added the line that would ignite the story far beyond the walls of that office. "I said what I said. People like you don't buy homes in this neighborhood." The room froze. A man sitting near the window muttered, "That's not okay." A woman near the coffee machine whispered, "She didn't even look at her ID." Yet Caroline, wrapped in her own certainty, palmed her name badge like a shield and stood taller. Marlene knew then that there would be no reasoning with someone determined to stay blind. But she also knew that silence only feeds injustice. So she opened her phone, not in anger, not in desperation, but in simple resolve, and spoke 6 quiet words that would change everything. Confirm the purchase. Initiate agency review. Caroline exhaled dramatically, rolling her eyes. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "Is that supposed to scare me? What are you, some kind of secret shopper?" But before her arrogance could settle, the office door swung open, and the entire atmosphere changed. Regional Director Adam Lowry stepped in, his stride urgent, his expression strained. He scanned the room until he saw Marlene, and instantly his shoulders straightened. His voice softened with unmistakable respect. "Ms. Hayward," he said, "we received your investor alert. I came immediately. I wasn't expecting you here in person." Every corner of the room stilled. Every whisper quieted. Caroline blinked, confused. "Investor alert?" she repeated. "Wait, what investor?" One of the clients gasped, connecting the pieces faster than she did. "Hayward, as in Hayward Properties." Another corrected him quietly. "No, Hayward Holdings. She owns a lot." Adam confirmed it with a solemn nod. "Ms. Hayward is one of our largest private investors. 27 properties, including 4 in Evergreen Heights." And then, like a building hit by an earthquake, Caroline's certainty collapsed. Her face drained of confidence, then of color itself. She stammered, I didn't know. No one told me." But Adam cut her off sharply. "You didn't ask." And the weight of those 3 words filled the room with a truth everyone recognized, yet no one had spoken aloud. Part 1 ends here, with a room full of witnesses holding their breath, and a woman who had endured enough finally standing in the light of her own truth, waiting for the consequences to unfold. In the silence that followed, the air inside Bishop and Crane Luxury Realty felt heavy, as though the entire office had been forced to confront something it had carefully ignored for far too long. The clients who had been quietly observing now leaned in, watching as Caroline's expression shifted from confusion to dread. The assistant who had reluctantly typed the false report stared at the floor, wishing she could disappear. But Marlene remained calm, composed, and dignified, as if this moment had not shaken her, but revealed something she had always known. Slowly, Caroline tried to recover her footing. She straightened her blazer, cleared her throat, and attempted to reassemble her usual facade of superiority. "Ms. Hayward," she began, forcing a thin smile, "I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. I didn't realize who you were." Her voice wavered, betraying her panic. "Had I known," but Marlene interrupted, her tone steady and controlled, carrying the weight of a truth that could not be softened by excuses. "You didn't need to know who I was," she said. "You only needed to treat me with respect." That single line settled over the room like a verdict. Adam stepped forward, adjusting his suit as he prepared to address the situation not just as a manager, but as a man responsible for the ethical standards of the entire agency chain. "Caroline," he said, turning to her, "I reviewed the security footage on my way here. You didn't check her name. You didn't ask a single question. You made assumptions based solely on appearance." His voice hardened. "This isn't just unprofessional. It's discriminatory." The word spoken aloud was like a stone dropping into still water. Ripples of discomfort spread throughout the office. Even the clients shifted uneasily, recognizing the severity of what they had witnessed. Caroline's breath trembled. I didn't mean it that way. I just thought—" "Exactly," Adam said quietly. "You thought." Instead of knowing, Marlene watched the exchange without gloating or triumph. She understood that arrogance often reveals itself most clearly when exposed under bright light. And today, Caroline's arrogance was impossible to hide. The assistant manager, Lorraine, stepped closer, wringing her hands nervously. "Miss Hayward, please allow us to correct this. We can reschedule your viewing, offer additional services, provide—" "This isn't about services," Marlene replied. "It's about how people are treated before anyone knows their story." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of the witnesses who had watched silently. Some lowered their gaze in shame. Others nodded, acknowledging the truth in her words. Caroline's voice finally cracked. I'm sorry, but it was too late for apologies. The harm had already been done, and the consequences could not be avoided." Adam opened his tablet and tapped through a series of screens, each one bringing Caroline closer to an outcome she had never imagined for herself. "Effective immediately," he announced. "You are placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation into discriminatory conduct." A gasp rippled across the room. Caroline's knees weakened. "Adam, please," she whispered. "I've worked here for 12 years. And in all that time," Adam replied, "you should have learned how to treat people." Caroline swallowed hard, realizing the gravity of what was happening. She reached toward Marlene as if grasping for a lifeline. "Please, I didn't know who you were." Marlene looked at her, not with anger, but with a depth of disappointment that cut deeper than any raised voice. "That," she said quietly, "is exactly the problem." The room felt colder as Caroline stepped back, defeated, her career unraveling before her eyes. Adam turned to Marlene. "If you're still interested, I can personally accompany you to the viewing. The property is ready, and the documents are prepared for immediate purchase." Marlene nodded. "Thank you. I'd like to proceed." As she followed him toward a private office, the clients parted, creating a respectful path that none would have offered her 20 minutes earlier. The shift in energy was unmistakable. Recognition replacing doubt, respect replacing suspicion, truth replacing assumptions. The signing process was straightforward. Adam explained each document with care, grateful for the opportunity to make things right. When they reached the final page, he paused and said, almost reverently, "This home is yours now." Marlene signed her name with a steady hand. She wasn't just buying a house. She was reclaiming space in a world that had tried, again and again, to tell her where she didn't belong. Adam closed the folder and spoke with quiet sincerity. "What happened today," he said, "is a reminder to my entire staff. Respect is the most valuable property we have, and losing it costs more than any home will ever sell." Marlene thanked him and prepared to leave. Her shoulders relaxed, her heart steady. As she stepped toward the doors, the clients who had witnessed everything watched her with a mixture of admiration and reflection. Something in this office had changed forever, not just because of who she was, but because she refused to accept anything less than dignity. And now, as you reach the end of this story with me, let me speak to you directly once more. If you felt this story, if it moved you, if it reminded you why respect matters, then take a moment to support this channel. Please subscribe, leave a like on this video, and share it so more people can hear stories that deserve to be told. Your support helps keep this voice alive. Thank you for watching.